Lady of the faucets, let's get it.
It's R2R, it's R2R, back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R, back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R, back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R, back to riches, back to riches. Got my call from the R2R. Farmers going up, Brody, check the chart. In the loops, buying all these plots. Thomas G and Mike got the chat on lock. With a drip and pause. Got these dogs and pigeons, farm me, I'm ready to score. Got me a bag of the rich and hard, I think I need more. Group got me in the wave, now I'm swimming the shore. Now I'm up to the core. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches.
Yo. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Welcome to R2R Wreck to Riches, episode number 73. Let me put myself on mute real quick and see if everything's working. I cannot hear. All right. Welcome to the channel. I was like, I think I turned out, and yeah, headsets are going. Welcome to R2R Wreck to Riches, guys. Happy Monday to you. Happy Monday to you. Welcome to live stream number 73. Number 73. On the road to 100. On the road to 100. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. For damn sure, I'm a professional. This cryptocurrency, you got to do your own research. Don't ever allow an influencer on any social media platform to influence you when it comes to cryptocurrency, because you could lose it all. So do that research. And don't forget to pound the like button if you're on YouTube. Like, subscribe, post notifications. And if you're on X, follow me on X. It's in the description of the video. Follow me. Retweet, get all your hashtags. We're going to talk Pulsechain today. It's a beautiful Monday. There's greenery in the scenery. We've been choppy over the weekend. We didn't get the Black Friday specials, but we got a little bit of Cyber Monday, itty bitty committee deals. You take what you can get, dollar cost average. Before we jump into Pulsechain, though, let's take a look at the price of Ethereum. We always like to focus on that, right? A lot of speculation as to what happens when Ethereum 2x's from here. And that's why we always look into RH.com. So we know. Looking at them SAC funds, only down 3.67% in the red. Once this is in the green, I mean, hey, man, you never know. You never know what could happen across the ecosystem when RH SAC address is up in the green, because people are speculating. We're going to talk about Pulsechain Speculators, right? And the reason I want to talk about speculators is because I posted this on X over the weekend, and Richard Hart talks about, and by the way, I've been watching Richard for a long time. He's evolved as far as his entire outlook across the crypto space. Used to be a Bitcoin maxi. Went from being a Bitcoin maxi, jumped over to buying Ethereum and understanding and appreciating smart contracts. Speculated from Bitcoin being the one and only to Ethereum being an entire ecosystem of potential that could be built on, right? Smart contracts and what they did deliver. Smart contracts is why we have DeFi today, why we can be decentralized. And prior, I think most people that weren't, studying or practicing self-custody would do everything on these exchanges and give your keys up, not your keys, not your crypto. And those bad practices led to a lot of money being lost. Mt. Gox, right? Mt. Gox got hacked. Everyone lost their money. They're now barely getting it back. What, a decade later, 10 years plus later? It's crazy. So smart contracts come about and they really give you the opportunity to trade on crypto on the Ethereum blockchain using the tools and the exchanges like Uniswap, for example, which Hex, by the way, put Uniswap on the map. When I first used Uniswap, it was like, what is going on with the slippage? Like, it was a very confusing time. And that's when Hex first came out. But just fast forwarding, back to beyond Bitcoin and then beyond Ethereum, Richard Hart understood speculation. And I'm going to play a clip for you guys. I posted this on Twitter, but it's interesting because now that Richard Hart has his own blockchain, right? His own chain where he has core tokens. Pulse is the gas token. PulseX is the exchange. You have Ink to earn yield. You have Hex and the PHEX, the core tokens. So if Richard Hart and a lot of the maxis out there, it's okay to own the core tokens. That's okay. I have nothing against that. I speculate beyond that. I have the cores and I have my speculative assets. And I'm good with that because I understand that's where Richard ventured off from Bitcoin and realized that the massive gains were beyond just Bitcoin. And they were on speculative assets that you speculate on, that he also understood that it doesn't matter if it's a shit coin or if there's a bad team or no utility, that all that matter was speculation and price go up. So if Richard Hart really wanted you just to own the core tokens and that was it, you have to imagine that if you're not expanding your mind outside of the core tokens, your argument is that he created PulseX Exchange just so we can trade Hex, PulseX, Pulse, and the core tokens? No, that's not what I believe. And it's okay to just believe and buy the core tokens. But you don't put all that work into an exchange without understanding the true value of speculators. Is it brings an entire new ball game of tokens, meme tokens, utility tokens, anything you can speculate on. And there's a lot to speculate about on Pulsechain. Let's go to the chat. Jared Perry 14, what's good? What's good? Welcome to the channel. Crypto Pride, let's go. What is your thoughts on EHEX going into 2025? Is it worth staking on each side? I bridged it over, so I buy it on Pulsechain. Right, Pulsechain was to eliminate the gas fees that were expensive on ETH and that will continue to go up with ETH going up. Right, so I operate with EHEX, just pairing it with different assets. So you can pair it with PHEX. I think there will be a parity. So the whole purpose of Pulsechain, blockchain was for people to build. That's it. That goes beyond the core tokens. But don't argue with me about that. You can really just be focused on the core tokens in your argument. And I see the argument all over X. They're coming after pDAI. They're coming after every asset that's not a core token. And I understand that's how maxis are. But your leader, your person that you are trying to mimic, that you believe so much in, go watch the growth of Richard Hart from a Bitcoin maxi to an Ethereum maxi to making his own chain, his own tokens, his own token before the chain. But in order for people to make the 10,000x gains on Hex, they had to speculate far beyond Ethereum. So that same strategy that made people millionaires, they had to get off their high horse they had to get off their mindset of just being an ETH maxi or Bitcoin maxi and drive the ball down and get involved with Hex. And those that did made the most money. You can still hold ETH, you can still hold your Bitcoin, but the speculative assets made 10,000x gains. Well, you don't get that anymore since it's not early for Bitcoin, since it's not early for Ethereum. You're hoping this bull market at Ethereum 2 to 3x's. You're hoping that Bitcoin goes to 200,000. Well, you're not going to make that much money if it goes to 200,000 versus if you have an opportunity like Hex. And I want people that are, maxis at this point to understand, like, hey, you don't have to agree, but you should definitely be more supportive across the board, because a lot of people are getting angry that money is going into these other tokens. And we're going to watch this clip. But also, what was speculation that's no longer speculation anymore, I don't believe. And I think it's going to be a fact that a lot of people were like, no, Richard Hart killed EHEX. Richard Hart said the market has chosen. It's done. EHEX. Well, then one could only speculate that EHEX would eventually catch up with Pulsechain Hex, PHEX, and that they would reach parity. That was argued against. But we see now that the price is going up, people are like, oh, wow, maybe that might happen. Price goes to pDAI. Oh, whoa, that maybe it might peg. It's all speculation. But like I said, don't argue with me. Listen to Richard Hart, and he will talk about the same thing over and over. Speculators and how the volatility of crypto is, 85, 95% dips. The volatility is the price you pay for bad gains. That's what he says, is being able to storm dips, huge dips, scary ones, hard to stomach dips. Volatility is part of the game. So your assets are not going to just continue to go up, up, up without any volatility. That's not how the game works. And the strong will survive, and they'll make the most of the space. But here's his thoughts on speculation and why thinking outside of the box and speculating has made me more money than anything else. Because if I had just held my Bitcoin that I bought at $250, held my Ethereum I bought at $7, and at some point sold to get into Hex and make tons more, I would have never seen the money that I touched in my lifetime. So let's take a listen here.
But why would somebody give them Ethereum or Bitcoin for these tokens? So why would they have any value at all?
See, I can tell that you are not a speculator, because if you were a speculator, you would already understand that these coins are worth billions and billions and billions of dollars for no particularly good reason. Coins with no adoption, bad teams, hacked, garbage, worth billions of dollars. So you're asking me a silly question, right? I can tell you technically why my coin is awesome, but why people are so interested in buying something that is experimental and new and doesn't work sometimes. We went from 0 to 20,000 on that idea. So I can't explain it to you, right? You can't spend Bitcoin anywhere. It was worth $20,000. And I believe the price will go up to all-time highs again within a year to 2 years. We'll be at all-time highs again. We'll have $30,000 Bitcoin. You'll be asking yourself, why are people buying this? It just doesn't make any damn sense, right? That's because you don't understand the market. You don't understand what the market wants, right? That's your problem. Now, I can tell you, I can give you a list of 100 coins that are fucking terrible, that are worth billions of dollars. And your answer will be like, I don't get it. I just don't understand it. What do you want to say?
I agree. There are a whole bunch of shit coins out there, but
yeah, but they're not shit, right? So let's talk about why you bought a cryptocurrency, right? Do you have bags of cryptocurrency you hold?
We'll never talk about your Bitcoin,
okay.
Your cryptocurrency.
Right. Okay, but I assume that since you like Bitcoin, you probably own some Bitcoin, right?
Sure.
Aren't you a little bit pissed off that people that bought into Ethereum made more money quicker than you, even though you, as the honest Bitcoin maximalist, did the right thing and didn't support the ICO scams and didn't support all the people getting hacked by having turn complete things that allow you to hang yourself with a lot of rope?
Damn. You hear him? He totally just, and you can tell my guy's face too. Like it's true. If you chose not to speculate, if you chose just to do the right thing, support just Ethereum, you're sitting back watching people make tons of money. Tons of money. And that's where we're at with the, speculation of like these P stables, right? You had these people from the very beginning that were creating, controversy. I hate the word FUD. The word FUD is so annoying to me. I'm like over it because everything you say in crypto, it's FUD, it's FUD. It's like, all right, we got to come up with something else. We got to come up with something else. It's FUD. It just sounds weird to me at this point. I don't like it. But people were just speculating that it wasn't possible to peg. And then there's people speculating that it was possible. So we take a look at like PUSD, for example. Look at the price. And we know that PUSD is moving when pDAI moves. All right. And there's a lot of things going on. And I noticed one thing this morning. This wasn't like this last night. So if you look at your accounts on DBank and your USDT fork, the logo just changed to this Tether logo with the Pulsechain colors. It was the regular logo before with an outline of like Pulse pink around it. So that just changed like overnight. That wasn't like that before. And I don't know. I'm like, what? Who runs like the logos? Who does that? When we see it change on the actual Pulse exchange, it's going to be interesting. But the logo changed. The logo changed, and maybe it's going to change soon here. Somebody's updating. Somebody's going to probably change the logo here. Maybe it'll happen on PulseX, but I speculate that could happen. I've been speculating that pDAI could potentially hit $1 when I first found out about it. And I discovered good old Maria. Let's listen to Maria talk about the pegging of P stables too, which is very interesting to listen to. Let's take a listen.
The expectation that the P stables will reach $1. If we look at the top holders on any of the P stables, nobody has that large of a bag in like above me. And so if I'm maintaining the top holding position and I can be a reference point, like I can have a perspective on whether I still think it's going to get there or not. And from my holdings, I feel like it should still get there. That I've made a value case by all the burning for the holdings that I maintain. I think I still have 100 million USDT, for example. I think that's currently like 250K. I don't know the number. So 250K to 100 million, that's a big jump. But we've already seen with Hex that happened. And we've already seen with Bitcoin that happened. We've already seen with Ethereum that happened.
So Maria, the Tropa developer, eventually, came out and doxed himself, right? And everyone was speculating on pDAI because of the Tropa ecosystem, the LP webs that were forming and things that were happening behind the scenes with the pDAI contract. And then Maria comes on chat and starts to talk to the community eventually. People were reaching out, doxes himself. And that speculation with pDAI became stronger. Now, the maxis on chain, and respect to you guys if you don't believe it, whatever. You don't have to believe, right? You don't have to believe, and it doesn't have to even be true at some point, which I do believe that there's an attempt to peg the P stables. But if you had gone into pDAI after all of the evidence you saw that was coming out, late July, early August of 2023, if you threw some money on it, and then you see Maria come out, you buy more. This is what I was doing, right? Threw some money on it. Maria starts talking to the people. I became more bullish, more excited, started buying Atropa tokens. And then you realize, other cryptos came out. PTGC came out. And now UFO is out. Because I decided to speculate, I've experienced massive gains on Pulsechain that I would not have experienced had I just held my Pulse or PulseX. And I was able to rotate, based off the ratios that I've made in these speculative assets that are on Pulsechain, rotate a small percentage of my holdings across the board without having to liquidate all my tokens I speculated on. I was able to rotate back my initial plus more. So my Pulse that I sold for speculating on pDAI, for speculating on USDC, PUSDT, Atropa, PTGC, EHEX, I was able to get my initial Pulse investment back plus some on top. In some cases, I doubled and tripled with being able to keep a moon bag that is very decent for the long run on all of these assets. So now it's house money, and now I have more Pulse than I started with. Isn't that the goal? Right? And all I did was follow what Richard Hart has been doing. This is why on Twitter I'm posting these videos daily, because I've been watching these clips for years now. I can finally say years because Pulsechain is going on like 2 years. And I listened to these videos and I realized that all of the messages are in these clips that help me realize what has made Richard accomplish so much and why people who speculated outside of just Bitcoin and Ethereum and tested their not tested, but really gambled their money, invested, speculated, put their money where their speculation's at, and banked on Hex, made a ton of money. So now we'll look at here. Now all these tokens that you love so much, that you defend to the core, everybody out there that's saying, pDAI is not going to ever hit $1, that's okay. But there's no denying, had you speculated early versus your mindset early on that was in denial or wouldn't accept it, you would have more. And that is for anybody that doesn't have new fresh capital coming in. So if you have $10,000 to work with and that's it, you would have your $10,000 initial investment that you sacrificed with, right, to get into Pulse, let's say, you'd be down right now versus you'd be up many X's plus have your initial if you took a swing at this. And that's the same thing that's happening with people that are sitting on the sidelines in Ethereum and Bitcoin that bought in far after the fact that it did thousands of percentages and so many X's from the very beginning. Because most of you didn't get into Bitcoin at 10 cents, $30, even 200, even 1,000. Some of you bought over 10K. Some of you have been buying bits and pieces, on the way up, 30, 40, 50,000. You've been buying Ethereum above 1,000, 1,500, 2,500. You're not that many X's up. You're up if you were buying $1,000, $2,000 Ethereum. But if you had put $1,000 into Ethereum at the time when Hex launched, and you put $1,000 into Hex at the very beginning, you would have made far beyond. And that's just from escaping from just the mindset that nothing else is better. Nothing else could be possible to make these types of gains. So now it's unfolding right in front of our faces. We saw that pDAI did a 10,000x. You know, throughout the entire time that Hex has come out, I've never been in something that hit a 10,000x like that, other than Hex, but now pDAI, right? And then pDAI lifts PUSDT and USDT with those same types of gains. Well, now that PUSDC is pegged to pDAI, the prices are the same. PUSD falls behind. So all those gains are there. PTGC, if you go look at the price of PTGC, you would have had way more. So right now, even though post-chain is recovering, if you were somebody who sacrificed and didn't ratio your position to have more, however you were doing it, whether it was on speculative moves or ratio trading between the core tokens because you felt that was safe, the people that are winning on Pulsechain are the people who speculated on these assets by far, by a huge margin. And you got to wonder, why did they just stick to the core tokens? It would only make sense that Richard Hart made Pulsex to invite people to build and trade assets that go beyond the core. Because if you were just looking at Pulsex being made just so we can trade Pulse and Pulsex and Ink and Hex and eHex, we're not going to get the volume to burn Pulsex like it does through the fees. That's not going to bring mass adoption. Other assets have to be a part of your ecosystem. Where would Ethereum be today without meme tokens? Where would Ethereum be today without utility tokens? Where would Ethereum be today without DeFi platforms and those tokens to support those protocols? Where would Ethereum be today? Think about it. So we are in an ecosystem that's early on in the infant stages, just like ETH. We need all these assets, and these speculative assets that do 10,000x like pDAI, we have so many tokens that are outside of the RH core tokens that have done far beyond the gains that we've seen so far. Now, PulseX will have its day to do a lot of many X's to come, I believe. I truly believe. But you could have already experienced that to have more of that, to get even more X's. It's like an X multiplier. PTGC, same thing, man. Same thing. Flip it to the ratio, right? The ratio is crazy. It went up to, per one TGC would have got you 6 pulse back at its peak, the end of November on the 28th, right? So if you want to go look, because it's been around for, about a year now, when you first could have got in, you only had to spend, like, look at these numbers. You figure you wouldn't catch this. Let's say you figured out about it here, where the ratio is like 0.06. Are you kidding me? Then here, it's a half. We get here, we're here, a 1-to-1 ratio in August of 2024. 5x. Boom. Your return on getting it early are massive. That's more pulse back. More X's on top of the X's that you expect to get down the road for being a speculator. So, of course, at this point, I'm going into an asset with the same technology like PTGC with UFO. And of course, I have the thought, the idea that this ratio as well is going to grow beyond the 0.75 it's at. It was like 0.8 plus recently. And yeah, I think down the road, the ratio is going to double, triple, quadruple, and be where PTGC is at. PTGC may be a 1-to-10 ratio. Your return on investment, as far as your pulse back with the ratio, is a lot if you count at the beginning of PTGC. Even those who speculated on the number one meme token on Pulsechain, teddy bear. You know, you have to look at the ratio. Most people don't talk about ratios. They talk about price. And I noticed that across the board on Pulsechain, I get really confused because if these people are just talking about price, then they're not understanding that the ratios would have just meant they would have got more Pulsechain back when they swap back to Pulse. So I was like, I never understood that. And there's different LP pools, right? I never understood how these people, most of the people out there don't understand the ratio returns. It just wouldn't make sense to look at it any other way. They're kind of gets caught up in the USD value. You know, no one talks about ratios. There are people who talk about the ratios, but not like you would think, because these investments are ultimately to get more pulse. Just like on Ethereum, you get more Ethereum when you hit it big on a meme token. Then if you have 10 ETH and you get into a meme with 10 ETH and your ratio, you know, let's say you 10x, but through the ratios, you end up with like 16 ETH, you know, even though you 10x the USD value, because ETH goes up and down, right? But ETH goes up with your meme token. Even if you get 16 ETH, you still made 6 ETH on top of your 10, which if you're holding the 16 for the long term, let's say peak bull market versus only having the 10 you started with, then with 16 you earn a lot more money, 6 ETH additional, swapping back to ETH. And these numbers, you know, drop with slippage. You get a little bit more ETH back, Pulse, you know, depending on how much you're selling or buying. It's very interesting. I think now is the time that people are going to be understanding ratios, because it should be the only thing that's your main focus is the ratios of going in and out of these assets. Once again, though, assets that are outperforming the core tokens are all speculative assets. So you have to imagine, if you watch the clip I played earlier, Richard Hart gave me that blueprint. I didn't just come up with this and said, I just sacrificed tons of money on Pulsechain, you know, 6 figures plus on multiple wallets, and think that I was just going to start gambling. I was looking for the core things that made sense. I found them, right? I found them. And they paid off massively. Why? Because that message was delivered to me through Richard Hart live stream. And a lot of you guys don't watch them. Now, the biggest controversy, and the thing that if you go back many months ago, I was doing videos after the tweet came out that the market has chosen Pulsechain Hex, right? Everyone wrote off eHex and said it was dead. Richard Hart killed it. Richard Hart just pointed out what the market chose, and it was the truth based off the data, right? But there's so many recordings out there, and I've played them for you guys before. You can go follow me on Twitter as well and see where he talks about bonding the two to parity. And he even gives a price point as an example, that bonding them at a price point and then they move to 20 cents together. He's talked about it. So Maria, the Atropa developer, has talked about the importance of eHex reaching parity to pHex. In what world would it make sense if Hex hit $1, right? And eHex was 10 cents. I don't think that's likely. I think they will hit a parity. I speculate. And my speculation right now has me up a lot, buying the absolute bottom on eHex and chewing it up. That they'll reach a parity. Maybe it's like, I think it could happen around 2 to 3 cents. It would be better if it had happened at a penny, you know, but maybe it happens between 2 to 3 cents. I speculate and I imagine. Then they go to 5, 10, 15, 20 cents. at the peak of the bull market for Pulsechain and across the markets as a whole. That's what I think. Now, pDAI, if you follow 9 Iron Capital, who's leading the way with information on a daily basis and is reading like the Morse code when it comes to Richard Hart talking to us on blockchain. Well, why would they say Richard Hart is talking through us through the blockchain? Like, why would they say this? Well, Richard Hart has said this many times, that blockchain is like a speech. And we should have freedom of speech through blockchain. And he's talking to us through the chain in many different ways. And the pDAI transaction that took place, that was the 5555. When that happened, everyone's like, that's no coincidence, right? And was that a message on the blockchain for Richard Hart? You know, you speculate, but the more you speculate, the more money you make in a lot of cases. And that goes from those that speculated from ETH to Hex, right? Those who speculated on Pulsechain, from Pulsechain to PTGC, from Pulsechain to pDAI. Everyone who's made the most gains on Pulsechain at this point, right? Because the core tokens haven't taken off yet. I believe they will. The ones who made the most money are the speculators by far. Now, if you play it the right way, you have more pulse than you did before to speculate that price could go many, many X's from where it's at. And it happens over and over in crypto. The speculators make the most money. Go to the beginning of this live stream and watch the clip of Richard Hart talk about it himself. And he says, you sat on the sidelines doing the good thing, not participating. And he's talking to the guy who's in Bitcoin, not participating in the Ethereum ICOs, playing it safe. And then you watch people go on Ethereum and make tons of money beyond your wildest dreams. So it's him that's saying it. It's not me. I got the message, so I play like this, you know. But 9 Iron Capital, man, and he's in a fight right now. Not a fight, but he's fighting for the community, and everybody is at that point where they come here to argue with him and go back and forth. Right now, it's like, who's right, who's wrong, what's being said. Everyone is debating whether it's true or not, the pegging. But we're going to know pretty soon, right? Let's see. The community proposal, I have heard of and seen videos on it, but is there any paper document about the pDAI community proposal? It's on chain. We don't use paper documents in crypto. It's on chain. It's on the blockchain. The proposal was made on the PMaker DAO fork on Pulsechain, and is pending approval. So that's funny too, because now I think like December the 6th or something like that, it's like a big significant date for that approval, or it might be another day. Maybe I'm wrong. Either way, shit's going to hit the fan, bro. If it gets approved, chaos. Like mad people flexing. I was right. Price will probably take off. If it doesn't get approved, the opposite. I was right. pDAI is going down. The price will probably tank. But does it stop there? Well, no. If it doesn't get approved, we still have Maria. The entire reason before all this MakerDAO discoveries and the proposals was Maria's like, Trump was here to help peg and support the P stables. And Maria believes in all three. That they will peg pDAI, PUSDT, and PUSDC. That is what's in the works throughout the entire Tropa ecosystem. So you can speculate that Maria is right or wrong, but people are talking about this. And speculation is like the key in crypto. If nobody's talking about your cryptocurrency or speculating about it, excited about it, angry about it, arguing about it, you probably don't have something that's going to do well. A boring cryptocurrency is not a good thing. Something that no one cares about is never good. So it's good that we have the eyes and attention of everybody right now. The biggest influencers too are going back and forth, and they're debating on this topic. They want to know that they're right or wrong, and we're real close there. So right now, I had been speculating and buying PUSDT for months now. I've told my group and I've talked about it. Look at these prices. I was getting all of November, and last night and today too, getting some good prices. And it's speculation. Now things may go back. I don't know. That's the price. Volatility is the price you pay for MAV gains. I can tell you right now, every time pDAI, we'll take a look at the price of pDAI and wrap Bitcoin. That's another speculative asset that could turn out to be really good. You got to invert the chart, by the way. Then you get the pDAI price in the chart, but not here. So now you see pDAI is at 2 cents. pDAI is at 2 cents, guys. That's crazy. But I'm seeing everybody out there going, "Oh, it's dumping. It's gonna go to a penny next." It's like, cool. That's crypto. Shouldn't it go down after it goes up? Isn't that supposed to? We're supposed to experience turbulence and dips. It's part of the game. So if it doesn't happen, that's weird. It would be weird. How deep? Let's see. How deep do you think pDAI will, if not approve? It depends, man. It depends. I think that if it doesn't get approved, it dips hard. 0.005, maybe even lower. But then the pDAI, maxis or the people that are leading charge would have to jump. I would imagine would jump to the Atropa narrative. Okay, well, it got denied, or in the case that it gets denied, Maria has been here for over a year trying to support these to peg and make it happen. That would be like their go-to. There's no other go-to other than tossing your hands up and be like, "We're not going to peg. Sorry, guys. Dump it." Their argument, and I think where they would go, is straight to Maria, the Atropa developer, and say, "Well, Maria was never in sync, or at least acted like he didn't know about what was going on with MakerDAO during that interview, if you watched it, that they had with him." But I speculate that Maria and RH know each other. And Maria has some technology that has been out that people have, mimicked, and has a system in place already for a year plus, has a system in place now to support PUSDT, has a relationship with RH. I think they communicate. I think Maria probably just didn't want to spill the beans about knowing about the MakerDAO, because as smart as Maria is, when they asked about, MakerDAO and the theory behind what Richard could do, it looked like he played dumb. But I looked at his face and it was just like shoot, like I cannot say anything, right? I cannot give a hint other than he said he didn't know. But I speculate they do know each other, and because of that, the denial, the proposal would put all the weight on the shoulders of Maria. So we'll see. But the biggest argument is like people are coming out and like, there's not $23 billion to back this asset. No, the collateral that could be used would be Hex, eHex, OA money from Pulse and PulseX. There's a lot of ways. There's algorithmic stable tokens out there. There's better systems. It's not just, hey, we have Tether and we had these audits done. There's no proof that these are really even backed, but we tell you they are. It's iffy at best with Tether. Who really knows? Who really knows though? Worth remembering when this stuff starts flying that you don't want to get caught holding second and third layer token. Whales will position closest to the door as users trade core tickers for leverage plays. there's a lot of liquidity between the entire Tropo ecosystem. And if like, yeah, there's actual real DAI in the system here for exiting. Like we have so many exit doors in Pulsechain. Take a look if you type in like wrapped pulse in the deck screener, right? The pool here, right here. Let's take a look. Which one am I going to pull up? Looking at the right one. Oh, put pulse. Oops. Actually, that won't even come up. You got to always put wrapped pulse. But anyways, let me put wrapped pulse and DAI. Look, it comes up with die hard and all this stuff. Jeez, you can't put that, huh? Let me take a look at this pool, this one right here that I'm already on. So the liquidity pool for Pulsechain and DAI, and remember Hart's law, when the price of Pulse goes up, you know, the liquidity gets thicker. But let's take a look. Pool DAI is 21.9 million. 21.9 million in pooled wrapped pulse. It's a lot of money, and that's even PulseX as well. PulseX to wrap pulse, and then that is like you would have to sell PulseX to wrap pulse. Yeah, these LP pools are going to get bigger, so that's why if like pDAI happens and it pegs, it really gives you hundreds of millions of dollars of exit LP too. It's interesting to see. I think the leverage plays on an ecosystem, like based off a blockchain, are Gucci compared to like assets that are out there testing Hart's law that are failing in real time. Testing Hart's law with a token that's not a layer one token. Like Hart's law applies just like it applies with Ethereum, the layer one. So everything that's connected with the gas token on a network, like Pulse, Hart's law works. You can't just create a token out of thin air on a layer one and say, I'm going to bond everything to that. And then we're going to have a small liquidity pool of the gas token, like the main token that everything would pair to on a network. Then there's a huge collapse. A massive collapse will happen. So on Pulsechain, the exit's clear. You have a lot of DAI within all of these ecosystems. Even UFO, you know, and you kind of think like UFO's got so many thick LP pools, right? It just, if pDAI hits, it just gives you so much more money. Like for example, here, when you look what's in the LP, you got 145 million pDAI. You peg that. If and when it does happen, if or when, that's $145 million in liquidity on the LP side for pDAI with a decentralized stable token. Crazy. But you just speculate that that could be the case. And UFO has a ton of pairs, right? Pulse, DAI, PulseX. It's paired with PulseX. It already has 2.5 million in liquidity. Let's take a look here. 20.9. Yeah, this is getting a lot of LP. Let's take a look at PTGC. People look at Hart's law and crypto and think that they can go apply it without using the underlying network asset. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. Ethereum moves with Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the alpha male, right? And everything has a parity to Bitcoin when it goes up or down. Ethereum structured that same way. Pulsechain being a leverage and a fork of ETH can apply Hart's law and make it real because it's the token of the network. That's why people are going to find out the hard way about that. And I was for a minute believing in like everywhere, because there's a lot of different protocols. Are like Hart's law. No, it ain't gonna work unless you have such a thick parity with Ethereum, like huge, and all of the tokens in your ecosystem do as well, plus the parity to your token. The gas token is the main thing for Hart's law to work. And that, if you go into Ethereum, for example, and you make a token out of thin air and you pair everything to it, and you have like a small pool of ETH, you're gonna get wrecked really bad. And I had to have that explained to me, and then I understood. Now I'm like, oh, is anybody out there speculating on this XUSD token? I know Rackham was like, I'm in it. I don't trust him. I don't know much about it. I just know it was outpacing pDAI, and then pDAI took off, and this went down. That's all I know. pDAI took off, like it started skyrocket. It was beating pDAI. I was like, damn, is this going to go to $1 before pDAI, or is it going to go higher than pDAI? I don't know. I don't know. What's Solid X doing? Oh, speaking of Hart's law, he's bonded so many tokens to wrapped Pulse and the ecosystem of tokens across the board. The benevolent whale, the fire whale. Good content, good points, unrelated. Love that Alien and Enki don't require you to sell your position to take profit versus PTGC. Yeah. You get a big enough bag of Enki. If you get a big enough bag of Enki, right, and you just sit on your rewards and don't sell them, just hold it. Let like, you know, me, I'm adding to it. Adding Enki, so the rewards start to go up, because with volume you'll get more rewards, and the more Enki you have, the bigger rewards you'll get. But I'm like, I'm not going to sell these assets, because what if wrap Bitcoin for whatever reason, pure speculation, people are speculating that it's going to happen. It takes off and it goes to $100,000, you know, 99,000, 98,000, wherever Bitcoin's at. Is it possible? You have to look at this, and this is interesting. If somebody wants to put the argument up, is it possible for it to you know, parity with the real Bitcoin? Look at the numbers. There's only 150,000, 54,410 wrapped Bitcoin. Wallet 2822 has 32,000 of that. This is a smart contract right here. Is that RH? You want to take a look into that wallet? We'll take a look into that wallet. You guys want to see what whose wallet that is? I'll show you right now. We'll show you whose wallet that is. We'll take a look into it. Damn, $61 million value on Pulsechain. Holds 32,000 wrapped Bitcoin. Holds 32.7 billion wrapped Pulse. It's got massive airdrops on AAPL, Wise, Aave, million Aave. Probably the #1 holder of Aave, if I were to guess off the top of my head. Wrapped Pulse, it has a ton. Balancer. Damn. Was it providing LP? Providing a ton of LP. DAI with Pulse. Man, USDC with Pulse. Maker with Pulse. PUSDT with Pulse, 239,000. This somebody, whoever it may be, is making huge LPs with the fake copies. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? And they're a whale. I mean, hey, man, why would they do that? What do they know that you don't know? I don't know, man. I don't know. I can only speculate, say maybe it's the man, the myth, the legend. Maybe it's his friend. Maybe it's his neighbor. Maybe it's his mailman. Maybe it's somebody he knows. Maybe it's him. Could be his girlfriends. Could be nobody related to RH. What do we know? What's up, gang? Smash some likes. Smash the like button, guys. Don't forget to support the channel. We're about an hour in where we always end the stream. So in the description, if you're on YouTube of the video, you need to follow me on X. Every day I'm going to post a couple videos of RH. They're going to help you during the good times and the hard times. Because I've been doing it for so long, these decisions are like easy for me to make. Because I just go watch his videos, listen to it, read in between the lines, and I always find my answer just listening to RH clips. So I just came up with this new things to just post, clips of RH every day so that you could draw strength from that, and maybe it'll help you. Sorry, one last point. I'm looking at R2R, an A1 ecosystem. Reflection tokens on pretty much anything you want in that ecosystem from post to P copies. Yeah, those have been around for a while. Well, A1A has been around. The RW, how do you say it? What is it? WRDR. Let's take a look at the chart here. RWRDR. Did I do that right? I don't know. RW. I don't know. I can't pull it up, but this one's been a long one. This is Sonny's token. Good old Sonny. The dude with the Twitter with the chanclas on it and his big toe. Rewarder. I wonder if that's how you pull it up. Rewarder. No, I don't think it is. I don't have the ticker. I don't know. But it's been about, going on an hour. Don't forget to pound the like button. Follow me on X. Drop a comment. And until next time, we'll do it again. Yeah, dog.
Any of the Boston get it? Woo! Woo! Yeah. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches. It's R2R. It's R2R. Back to riches. Back to riches. Got my call from the R2R. Farmers going up, Brody, check the truck. In the loots, buying all these plots. Thomas G and Mike got the chat on lock. Wanna drip and pause. Got these dogs and pigs in front of me, I'm ready to score. Got me a bag of the rich and hard, and I think I need more. Group got me in the wave, now I'm swimming the shore. Now I'm up to the core. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, just back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches, back to riches. It's R2R, it's R2R. Back to riches.